Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Izuku was an artificial human, villain alliance, Deku x Mina, part 1. So before we start, please go check out the author of this fanfic, PainX65, link is in the description. Also subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's begin the video. Darkness, total darkness covered everything, but a single light. A computer screen, the screen changed, and so did the light to either brighten the room or make it darker. Clicks could be heard, as fingers dashed over a keyboard, and pressing each letter, as the screen continued to change. The figure at the computer had hair framing their face before turning their head to a smaller sleeping figure. He turned back to the computer, as he searched, and searched, looking for something. This, the masculine voice stated deeply, is all for your sake. He didn't stay too long on one page before moving on to the next. Too old, too big, too beat up, dead, lost limbs. Screen after screen, page after page. He searched and searched. There were too many, and the fact it lacked a more defined search feature made it all the more painstaking long. He didn't even spend more than a second on the pages. Pages of people of various ages, genders, and more importantly quirks. A child's words rang through his head as he searched. Can I have a little brother? An innocent voice resounded in his mind. Hearing it the first time, he was quite surprised. This was the first time he showed any signs of want. More specifically, want for another. He decided to comply with the wishes of the child. After all, this was all for his sake. He wanted a younger brother. The first thing he wanted was another person. He'll grant that wish. His searching, however, was now limited. But still, he took all the others into consideration. They might prove to be useful, especially with what his current work is. So he decided to add the two together. Two birds with one stone. The screen stopped. This time, he stayed on the page. It was newly updated to boot. Younger than him, quirk status is acceptable. He rose from his chair, as the monitor cut to black. Near silent footsteps walked past the sleeping figure, and left through the door. He continued walking by tubes filled to the brim of green liquid, and then, once he stepped foot outside, he vanished. Rain fell heavily, as a young child, no older than 4, curled up in his bed with sheets covering his body. A tuft of black hair with green highlights, enough to label his having green hair, stuck out before diving deeper within the sheets. Sheets that were soon stained with tears, as small noises might have been heard if one was close enough. The crying child could hear clearly through the door that was cracked open just enough for him to hear. Quirkless? His father asked. He could only picture his mother nodding with tears. He heard nothing else. He could only imagine. It had been about a week since his diagnosis about his quirk status. Quirkless, a rare phenomenon in today's society which pretty much meant you were worthless. Maybe back in the day when quirks were first coming out, maybe quirkless status would have been seen in a good light. But now it was all about quirks. Even though there were laws about using quirks in public, people still used them. There were two people who did so. They were heroes, and their polar opposite, villains. Villains, those who would use their quirks to harm others, and commit crimes, and widely regarded as the scum of society, yet oddly enough, still held higher than those without quirks. Heroes, unlike villains, where those who use their quirks to help the innocent are not only villains, but natural disasters, and other threats that could cause harm. However, in order to be a hero, you must have a quirk. It was clear, as day to what society has degraded to. Quirks, superpowers, to kill or to protect. If you didn't have a quirk, you were practically shunned. His head shifted so that a single eye could see out of the blankets. His parents had already moved. Their conversation kept going despite him not being able to hear them. He could only imagine what they were talking about. Probably about him being worthless. The mind of a child was a fragile one that needed to be taken with care. If you weren't careful with a child's mind, then who knows what may happen to the child's state of mind. A child was innocent to the world. They were heavily susceptible to the words of others around them. They were impressionable, and to the wrong people that was clearly a bad thing. Lightning hit the ground outside of the apartment complex. He saw the flash of light, and on the wall he could have sworn he saw a figure. A second, that all it took. A second to turn his life from bad to worse. First finding out that he was quirkless, never being able to be a hero. Then, the bullying due to his quirkless nature. Those who once treated him as human stopped when his quirkless status was revealed. Their teacher didn't seem to care in the slightest. And finally, the day his father finally got back from a business trip. He lost both his parents, home, and useless possessions. He was alone. Was it a storm or a villain? Whatever happened, he lost everything. He heard footsteps as he leaned against a piece of broken rubble. He couldn't move. It was a miracle he survived. He tried looking for his parents only to find them buried under heavy debris without any intention of moving ever again. Where were the heroes? Weren't they supposed to help in these situations? This was clearly a disaster. He heard footsteps approaching him. As he looked up, he didn't know how long it had been, but the rain kept pouring regardless. It was heavier. The man crisp black suit with short hair from what he could tell, and then, he spoke. Nobody came to save you, huh? He asked, as he approached the child. It must have hurt Izuku Midoriya. The heroes will, or before long the heroes will, everyone say things like that. But they all ignored you, didn't they? Even the heroes themselves. How exactly did the world end up like this? Who made it this way? He held out his hand invitingly. It's okay now, don't worry, I'm here. And then, little Izuku held out his hand. As the world went black, he gazed up at the ceiling above him. He had awoken not that long ago, but the memories barraged his mind like at guns. I see you awake, his savior said. We have much to talk about, young Midoriya. He gazed lifelessly at the man before springing up. Where's my mom? Where's my dad? He asked. Are they okay? You know the answer to that yourself, young Midoriya, he said. No matter how much you want to deny it, your parents passed away last night. Tears threatened to fall, and they did. The man had moved to the side, as he threw his arm around the child. I know what it's like to lose people close to you. He was brought up, but that is for another time. Do you wish to learn how your parents' lives came to an end? Was it a villain? He asked. No, he said. Not just a villain, but a hero. The child started with wide eyes, unable to form words. A hero was fighting a villain, and he took the chance to take the villain out by sacrificing the lives of not only you, but your parents. He patted the child, as he continued. A hero took your parents' lives away. A hero did this. The child could only cry, as the man stood. I will be back shortly with an offer. He had been locked away for a day, as the man returned. Midoriya? He asked, as he entered. The child's eyes were lifeless, devoid of anything. Remember my offer from yesterday? The child nodded, as he wore clean new clothes, a recently emptied bowl set to the side. In only 2 days, this man treated him more kindly than his preschool teachers and classmates did in a week after hearing that he was quirkless. Before I offer, there is something I need to tell you. What's that? You are labeled dead to the world. Huh? The child blinked. He couldn't believe his ears. I apologize, but I'm alive. You are, the man confirmed. But Izuku Midoriya is dead. The child looked down, as he continued. However, Izuku Shigaraki is still alive. Izuku's head snapped back up. Words failed to come out of his mouth, and if they did, he could have been called a rap god. I have a child not that older than you. A few years in age, he started. His name is Tomura Shigaraki. Are you? Yes, Midoriya no Izuku. I am offering you a new home, and family. He held out his hand again, and a chance to make this world right again. So would you join this family of outcasts, as the younger brother to Tomura? He expected anything from the child. More of an immediate yes, not tears. Why are you so nice to me? He asked with tears pouring down his face. So nice when others were not. Because I understand, he said. You don't need a reason to be kind to others. So, would you join us? Yes, Mr. Shigaraki. He placed his small fragile hand into the bigger one. Oh, my name isn't Shigaraki. Then what do I call you? Call me Sensei. Sensei was watching the events unfold. Shigaraki and Midoriya got along swimmingly. He could tell from both kids that they both hated heroes. At how helpless they could be. At how they put their lives at risk. Sensei, who is he? Young Shigaraki asked, his messy gray hair getting in the way of his red eyes. Izuku could see the small scar on the left side of his lip. This was Izuku Midoriya, but now he is Izuku Shigaraki. Shigaraki? The other young child asked, tilting his head. Was I mistaken? I thought you wanted a younger brother? With those words, Shigaraki's eyes lightened up. Brother? He could hear the tone Tomura's voice was carrying. All he did was nod at the one-worded question. Yes, brother, he repeated. I hope you'll get along. He's been through some trouble with heroes. He started walking away, back to his study. Now I will let you get along. With that, Tomura and Izuku had taken a liking to each other. Shigaraki, the one who was ignored by heroes when he needed them most, and Midoriya, the one whose life was destroyed by selfish heroes. And then, young Izuku brought up the fact he was quirkless, and how that meant worthless in today's society. That was when he saw the look in Tomura's eyes, the eyes of not only rage at society and heroes, but also protectiveness. This was new, but it did fuel young Tomura with the desire to topple society. And that was all that matters. Once again, clicking could be heard, as Sensei typed at his computer, albeit slower than before. Honestly, he was searching for people for his work. He was looking for someone specific, so he decided to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. He stood, as he heard crying while walking past the previous tubes filled with green liquid, and more forms, well, more like deforms. He continued past till he reached the crying of the child. Kneeling down, he placed a hand on the child who was brought to the land of destruction, death, and evil known as reality. Don't worry, he comforted the child. I am here. Good morning, Izuku. Sensei greeted the green-haired child, as he placed down a book about quirks. This book is very interesting if you want to read it. Sorry for worrying you. That's not a problem, Izuku. Sensei stood, as he calmly approached the child. But I do have an offer for you. Another? he asked, as he saw Sensei nod. This is much different, however. What is it? He asked with childlike curiosity. Tell me you're quirkless, are you not? Izuku looked down at the floorboards. Yes, he croaked out softly. You know I can fix that, he said, as the child looked up. I can give you a quirk. The child's eyes couldn't grow any larger. You can? Sensei nodded. But let me tell you something first, he said, as the child took in every word. You need to train and get stronger before I give you a quirk. Izuku nodded, as he continued. Secondly, we are outcasts, thrown to the side of society, and treated as villains. I'm sure you know what that means. I can never be a hero, Izuku said, as he remembered his parents' death at the hands of a hero. A selfish hero who was willingly to use innocent lives. If heroes are like that, then I never want to be a hero. Izuku felt Sensei's hand patting his head. Yes, to society you being quirkless is pretty much equivalent to worthless, Sensei said, but you have the most potential. Huh, all quirkless people have to work 10 times harder, and even then, some of the strongest-willed people were quirkless. Really? He asked with a bit too much hope. Sensei nodded again. Now tell me, Izuku, what's your opinion on All Might? He asked the child. I'm unsure now. I used to think he was a great hero. But, do you still have doubts? That's understandable. He smiled at the child. However, I will tell you he is not all he seems to show himself as. The #1 hero, the symbol of peace. All Might. He would even tell you that you being quirkless is worthless, unfit to be a hero without a quirk. Izuku looked down to the floor once more. All Might too, despite society looking down at you. I believe in you, Izuku, Sensei said as he waved his hand. I believe in your potential, not as a hero, but as a fellow outcast that would label us a villain at the smallest word of complaint. And that's when Izuku unleashed the tears he didn't know how long he was holding back. He watched as he gave Izuku some papers on what to do. Shigaraki took the time to help his new younger brother. However, he needed someone to watch them. I'll make sure they'll stay safe, a male voice said. He was entirely made up of mist, and wore an elegant suit with a tie, and 5 metal plates that go from around his collarbone to just below his eyes. Thank you, Kurojiri, he said before turning back to his work. His finger tapped patiently on the desk. As he saw another article of All Might appear on the corner of a most trending topic, he immediately left the site. He had found what he needed already, but it didn't hurt to look for more individuals. Quirkless, those without quirks. That's what he was originally looking for. But then, Shigaraki wanted a younger brother, so he decided to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, but it limited his search. That was when he found him. He turned with the chair following. As he stopped to look at the green tubes filled with bodies, all of them became mindless dolls. But that was simple. They all originally had quirks, and once a quirk was introduced to an existing quirk they already had, well, that happened, as a result to them. Loss of their minds, loss of their personalities, no longer able to think for themselves, they could only take orders. However, back in the day, he could remember there being more successful attempts, back when quirkless ruled over those with quirks. But there was one who was a success despite having a quirk, his younger brother. He pushed those thoughts out of his head, as he looked back at the creature in the tube. They were no longer human, but he had a theory. Those born without quirks, since they didn't have a quirk in their body, were in a clean state. But that was just a theory. He needed someone to stand at Shigaraki's side, someone for Shigaraki to fight for, and that person was Izuku. He will have to take it slow and careful. He didn't want to ruin young Izuku, plus if it failed, Shigaraki could still protect him and give him a striving goal. But for him, he wanted Izuku to succeed. Kurojiri was polite and well-mannered. That was what Izuku learnt as he went through with Sensei's requests. He had learned from Tomura that he went through a similar plan, slightly different, but mostly the same. At first it was hard, extremely so for a 4-year-old. But that didn't stop him. He kept pushing, he kept at it. Sensei believed in him, Shigaraki accepted him. Kurojiri, who he only met today, took care of him, made sure he ate right, and stayed clean. And when he harmed himself, he patched him up. He didn't want to disappoint them. They took him in, they gave him a chance. Even his own parents thought he was worthless. His mother apologized for him not having a quirk. She was looking down on him. His father heard that he was quirkless. He was disappointed. He held them back. He held them both back from their dreams. Yet, despite feeling sad for him being the cause, was he filled with rage and happiness? Like they got what they deserved. The biggest emotion he felt was confusion. Should he be sad, or should I be angry at them? Shigaraki told him to be angry at them, as they saw him the same as society did. Kurojiri told him that was something he needed to figure out on his own. Did his parents really hold the same views as the sheep of Japan? Or did they love him till the end? Sensei told him everything is alright now. He was safe, and so he dived back head first into the training regime for a 4-year-old that Sensei gave him. He will succeed, no matter what. He's doing well, Kurojiri said, as he cleaned an empty glass despite none being used. Yes, Shigaraki said with a worried glance, but he's working himself too hard. It had been a year since he started, and was taken in by Sensei, and became Izuku Shigaraki. He doesn't want to be a burden to you after all. Kurogiri placed the empty glass down, and got another to clean. You are his older brother, his idol. He just wants to make you proud. I know. Right now, Izuku isn't doing any physical training. Right now he was reading, absorbing knowledge. There was a reason why villains were powerful if their quirks didn't give them an advantage in combat. They relied on their smarts. Izuku was currently reading a book about quirks, the same one Sensei offered a year ago. He learned about emitter, transformation, and mutant-typed quirks, or one might call logia, paramecia, and Zoan. Where did that come from? Regardless, he learned about the thing he desired since he was diagnosed as quirkless, all because he happened to be born with 2 joints on his goddamn pinky toe. Reality was not fair, men were not born equal. However, that didn't mean that he had to be fair or use fair methods. Sensei watched through the monitor of Izuku's progress. He was surpassing his expectations. Then again, those without quirks worked a lot harder to achieve their goals. He might have to grant Izuku the quirk sooner than he expected, but he still had a long way to go. 3 graves, that's all there was. 3 single graves. A family of 3, or what used to be. A man wearing a closed coat complete with a hat took in the graves. He had a stocky frame, dark hair, and squarish features. This was Naomi Tsukachi, a police detective. He was sent to the scene of the destroyed apartment complex, but nothing remained. When he returned to the crime scene, it was highly discussed as either a villain attack or a force of nature during the late night storm. Tsukachi, however, knew more. This wasn't just a storm, this was an attack. The same day his best friend Toshinori Yagi came to visit, it was the same night that travesty struck. Was it a coincidence? Who knows, but Tsukachi knew one thing. This case was a cold one. There was no evidence, only bodies. He took off his hat and offered a prayer. It had been a year since the case. Sure, the building was repaired now, but there was one thing he caught in the murmurs. Talk of quirkless. The memory burned. He knew the case wasn't a force of nature. He knew someone attacked. There hadn't been any type of pinpoint destructive natural weather disasters like this one. It had to be an attack. He gritted his teeth, as Toshi took it upon himself a bit too hard. He was the first hero to arrive on the scene after all. Talk of the parents' deaths was shocking to those who heard, but once they heard of the quirkless child, interest seemed to vanish instantly. Being quirkless is equivalent to being worthless. He didn't know why those thoughts appeared in his mind. Oh wait, his friend used to be quirkless. Maybe he projected his best friend onto the quirkless child. Maybe hearing that he was quirkless activated some worry for the child of memories of his best friend. He muttered an apology. This case came to a close. 6 years old. He was 6 now. He usually trained with Kurogiri, as Sensei tended to Tomura about grooming. He thought his older brother's hair was fine. Kurogiri chuckled at that one. Now Izuku, the mist man said in a voice that he could only be labeled as a teacher. If your enemy had an invisibility quirk, what is the best course of action? I'll use my other senses. If I can't see them, I'll listen, and smell for them, and their footsteps, as well, he said. But would the quirk be a transformation or a mutation? Kurogiri paused for a brief moment. Transformation. How do you deal with it? Well, I'll use my sense of smell and hearing to find out where they are, and follow any footprints. But since they are a transformation, I'll wait to see if the transformation can drop. If not, I'll perform a sneak attack. If it does drop, then I'll still go for the sneak attack if I can. Now, the mutant-type one, he said, as the child almost repeated himself. I will do nearly the same, but I'll also look for signs of them having anything on their body. Add quirks to the mix. If I have any quirks that enhance my smell and hearing, I will use them for location purposes. The 6-year-old started. However, I will also use any eye quirk that allows me to see them, like X-ray vision or infrared. Kurogiri's hand extended, as it patted him on the head. Good job, he praised me. Most people wouldn't bring in X-ray vision. Why did you choose that one? To see their bones, he answered. The outside may be invisible, but their insides aren't. Shall we move on to the next scenario? Izuku gladly nodded. Sensei and Kurogiri's teaching methods were a lot different from those of schools. They not only taught them what they needed to learn, but also more practical teachings of quirks, scenarios, and much more. Even combat, for example, quirk use too if you had one. Sensei didn't believe in teaching him and Tomura the same things that schools would. Sensei's methods were much more enjoyable, and he probably learned more than most kids going to school. Then again, he did work 10 times harder. You were born with a fire quirk, Kurogiri started. However, you are up against users of water quirk users. How can you turn this into your favor? Izuku seemed to be in thought for about a minute. May I ask where the battleground is, Kurogiri? You are fighting on rocky landscapes. I'll increase the heat of my flames and fire at the ground. At the ground? He asked the young child. Yes, that way the ground can also heat up, getting hotter. Ah, I see. That way it makes the water users immobile. But you too. That's right. Their water can take out my fire, but but they also have to take care of whatever I set a light on. Izuku started. Then when they try to cool the ground, steam appears, they said at once. Izuku nodded. Yep, depending on other battlefields, I'll light the area around me on fire. How would you combat them head on? I'll increase my fire to make steam once it connects with their water quirks, or I'll increase my fire till the water reaches a boiling point. Turns out you have a second quirk that acts similar to your fire, however it's not the ability to use electricity or ice. Solve it. I'll fight water with water, he said. I'll use my fire and water quirk together to create steam that I'll just use as a smoke screen. But when attacking I'll boil my water to scald them, and if you don't have a water quirk, I'll use a wind quirk to blow back the waves of water while also adding it on to my flames to make my fire attacks faster and more powerful. Good job yet again, Izuku. Izuku beamed at the praise. Izuku, the deep voice of Sensei called out. Yes, Sensei? He asked, glancing at the green tubes on the wall. It's time. Really? He asked, as his eyes widened. The man nodded. Yes, you have impressed me, and Kurogiri says that you excel at his studies. He nodded. It is time to bestow you with a quirk. What quirk will I be getting? He asked nervously. Why the quirk of your parents, young Izuku, he said, as the child's jaw dropped. My parents' quirks? I know you're confused, and it may not be much to start, but the ability to breathe fire, and the ability to attract small objects are a lot more useful than you think, Sensei said sagely. Will you accept? I accept it. Then we shall prepare immediately. Sensei? Shigaraki asked. Where's Izuku? He's getting a quirk, Tomura, Sensei replied. He is just getting ready. He is? Shigaraki asked with worry in his eyes. Don't you want him to join you in your quest? The older man asked. I promise no harm will befall upon Izuku. Besides, your goal is to topple the symbol of peace, is it not? It is. You're worried he'll become like the others? Shigaraki nodded. Don't fret. Sensei ruffled the gray hair of the child. Believe in your little brother. He'll pull through this. Sensei left Tomura where he stood, as he patiently waited for both Sensei and Izuku. How do you feel, Izuku? Asked Sensei, as he came out of the green tubes. Why did I need to go in there? He asked. It's just a precaution, to strengthen your body. He looked at his hands followed by the rest of his body. Does that mean I have a quirk now? No. It took Izuku a second for that to register. Huh. I strengthened your body, Izuku, Sensei said, as he flexed his fingers. Augmented if you will. I have yet to bestow you the quirks, but I thought the body training. It was needed, yes, and you still need to do that. I just gave it a boost, as a reward for doing so well past Kurogiri's expectation. Think of it as a bonus. Thank you, Sensei. He bowed his head, causing Sensei to chuckle. No need for formalities, Izuku. He gestured Izuku to a seat. However, augment boosts like that make you artificial. Artificial? Yes, you're beyond human now, Sensei said. You are an artificial human, Izuku. But do I still need to follow the training regime? Izuku got a nod in return. Sensei beckoned him closer, holding out his hand. I shall give you the quirks of your parents now, he said, placing his hand on Izuku's head. You might find yourself falling asleep, however. Then, young Izuku felt it. He felt it. It courses through his body. However, when it was over it happened again. It was an odd feeling. Odd, but probably something he would get used to in the future. That's if Sensei would provide more quirks for him. Izuku? He heard Sensei call his name. Izuku? Yes, Sensei? He responded, as Sensei's face looked down at him. Did it work? Work? I think it went perfectly. Just as I calculated, he said, as had already removed his hand. Interesting, very interesting. It seems he accepted the quirks much more easily than others due to being quirkless. He thought, as he returned to his desk. It could also be from sheer willpower, and want for a quirk that the quirks were accepted. He truly is a clean slate for quirks to be added, and no sign of being a mindless doll either. The perfect artificial creation, a sentient Noumus. How do I test for my quirks? He asked him. Do not fret, I got that covered, he said before sending him a proud smile. A proud smile. I have to say, I'm proud of you. Izuku smiled, not bothering to hide it. Days passed. As Izuku learned to use his quirks, the quirks of his parents' dead parents, it went along smoothly, and could be controlled quite easily. Fire breath was quite easy to understand. He could breathe fire from his mouth, kind of like a dragon. That quirk belonged to his father. Attraction of small objects was his mother's quirk. It allowed him to attract small objects or tools towards his body. When Sensei said despite what they could do they were still useful, he was right. They had plenty of uses. He'll never have to get up to get the remote again. Or do sneak attacks with it too. Just imagine what scattered knives could do. Izuku kept at it, practicing, as he recalled Sensei's words. You took to those quirks like a fish to water. Keep it up, and I might give you another quirk. There was no time to rest. Let's go, Aizu, Tomura said, as he led Izuku outside. Where are we going? He asked his older brother. Out, he said, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Out where? Shopping mostly. He followed his brother, and did not recognize much of the city, as he usually stayed where Tomura and Kurogiri were, with Sensei too, and the number one hero All Might has saved the day yet again, a news reporter said on a giant screen. Tomura groaned, as he looked up at the screen, seeing that smiling blonde bastard. See that Izuku, the symbol of peace, he spat out. What symbol he is? If he is truly a symbol of peace, he's doing a horrible job. And then, to Tomura's ears, he heard Izuku agree. Yet just like all the others, Tomura placed a hand on Izuku's shoulder, and smiled. He was very happy that his younger brother shared the same way. Well, we better get the shopping done. Izuku spared one last glance at the screen of the smiling hero. Just, as Sensei said, Tomura carried the bag in his hand, as Izuku carried the other bag. TCH seems we have some annoyances. Tomura groaned with mild annoyance. Izuku looked ahead. Thugs. What do we do? He looked up at his big brother who seemed to hold back an emotion. We use our quirks, Tomura said, as if it would solve their problems. Those thugs will not hesitate to hurt you. Hurt us, hurt Sensei, he told the younger boy. So, we fight to survive. No heroes will come save us outcasts. Izuku gulped, as a reassuring hand was found on his shoulder. Don't worry, I'll make sure it's okay in the end. Izuku counted the thugs. 3 in total, and all pretty weak, as decided by Tomura. Speaking of Tomura, he already started to walk again. Hey kid, the thug, who was holding a knife, dropped to his knees to talk, but landed with his face missing. Granted, he still had his skull. Trespassing on our turf, and killing our boy, the second shouted. Izuku surprisingly wasn't fazed. He saw the corpses of his parents, after all. But he still felt a little sick. The knife came down at Tomura, his brother and all, but blood. He wouldn't allow it. A sea of flames engulfed the second, causing him to drop the knife, and fell to the ground. The third immediately turned to him before 2 knives stabbed themselves into the thug's back. As he fell to the ground, Tomura disintegrated the back of his head. How are you holding up, Izu? He asked, as the child was kneeling over, ready to spew up his lunch. Tomura patted his back. Let it all out, he said. Izuku looked at the 3 thugs. They were old, and ragged. They were outcasts of society. I'll admit, Izu, I didn't want you to do this, but I wanted you to be prepared for the real world. They wouldn't have hesitated to kill us like the Night Sensei saved us. Izuku silently nodded, refusing to throw up. I'll be strong for you, Sensei, and Kuro. Tomura helped Izuku up, as they headed back to the bar. Sensei watched, as both Tomura and Izuku sat at the bar, as Kurogiri fixed them up for some lunch. They were growing by the day, and Izuku had taken the first 2 lives away from another. Originally he was going to set up a test for Izuku about taking a life, but now he didn't have to. They hated heroes. They strived to take down the symbol of peace. This, he saw, as pride filled him. Speaking about the symbol of peace, he was getting closer. Izuku used to be 8 years old, but now he is 9. Tomura was only 3 years older, being 12. They both seemed worried, as Sensei had increased and pushed their training to the limits. He was starting to worry them, Kurogiri included. I'll be back, he said to the 2 boys. Where are you going? Tomura asked, as Sensei kneeled in front of them. There's something I need to do. They watched, as Sensei disappeared into the darkness of the night. Come now, Kurogiri said. Have faith in Sensei, will you? And so, they followed the mist man. Hey Kurogiri. Yes, Izuku? He turned his head to the green-haired 9-year-old. Are you worried about Sensei too? I am, Kurogiri answered. It had been days without Sensei, weeks to be specific. Sensei had yet to turn up. Where was he? Where was he? Where was Sensei? Boys, Kurogiri's voice called out, as his shadows warped around the 2. Sensei wants to talk with you. Izuku closed his eyes, as Kurogiri's quirk covered him. He had the ability to warp, quite a useful ability. He heard Tomura gasp, and Izuku followed next, as he gasped when he opened his eyes. Sensei's face, the top of Sensei's face. The top of his face from his upper lip up was now entirely made of scar tissue now. It covered his entire head, the back of his neck too. He had no nose, no ears, no hair, no eyes, though they could make out the outlines of eye sockets if they looked hard enough. He had various tubes sticking out of his neck and jaw to help with his breathing. It was like he was attacked by a monster. Sensei? The cracking voice of Tomura asked, as he slowly approached the now handicapped man. Shigaraki, Tomura called out slowly, still wounded from his battle. I failed. What happened to you, Sensei? Asked Izuku, with tears threatening to fall. Izuku, what happened? The dry cough forced itself up his throat. All Might happened. Both Tomura and Izuku's eyes widened. All Might? He did this? Yes, he said bluntly. All Might did this to me. Sensei could feel them hugging his legs, or rather Izuku was hugging his leg. As Tomura fell to the floor, he could feel the tears from Izuku. All Might, Tomura spat out with such venom. I'll kill him. I'll kill the symbol of peace. I'll kill him. 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 I'll kill him, 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 I'll kill him. Sensei felt Izuku's grip tighten on his leg. First my parents, now Sensei? His breathing got heavier. I don't want to lose you too, Sensei, he declared. I'll make sure All Might will never hurt you again. I'll help Anais-san kill All Might. Sensei stayed quiet for the longest time. Come here, both of you. They did, as they were told, as two arms wrapped around them. Thank you? That means the world to me, he said. Sensei, you shouldn't move. I'm fine. I'm still alive. I just need some time to rest. The kids gave him a look, and let go. If you want to take down the symbol of peace, you need to get stronger. Then we'll get stronger, Tomura declared. Izuku nodded next to Tomura, and the heroes had already taken too much from him. He didn't want to lose anymore. Then go, and get stronger. And then, Kurogiri warped them away. They were going to get stronger, stronger to kill All Might. A cold shiver went down All Might's back, as the hero stood after defeating his long-time nemesis of his sensei, his sensei's sensei, and so on. He was the eighth one, and the one who defeated the long-time menace, the evil ruler of Japan that lurked in the shadows for years. Yet he didn't feel anything, especially if that chill was anything to go by. He didn't feel like he defeated his enemy. If anything, there was a chance he could still be out there. No, he had to be. All for one. The hero looked in the direction of their previous battlefield. The hero fell to his knee, as he clutched his side. It hurt, it still hurts. It never once stopped hurting. But now when the adrenaline finally stopped kicking, the pain was unbearable. He spat out blood. He needed to get to a hospital quickly. It seems I was too late, Sensei muttered, as he sat in his chair. This quirk is useless now. He had taken a quirk called Super Regeneration, and just, as the name implies, allowed whoever had it to regenerate from any injury on the user's body, such as missing limbs, at incredible speeds. However, his scar tissue face was unaffected. His wound had already cicatrized. It was a worthless quirk to him now. However, despite it being useless for him, it could be useful to another. When someone has a goal set in front of them, they'll either do two things. They'll either work hard to reach the goal, or they will just procrastinate while the goal stays out of reach. For Tomura and Izuku, they fell into the former. They worked hard. A 10-year-old and a 13-year-old worked hard, very hard. They pushed themselves to their limits, and when they broke or passed their limits, they increased the limit they needed to reach. What is their goal? Kill the symbol of peace. Some would call that impossible. But it wasn't. Nothing was truly impossible. Especially in a world where a quirk could be anything ranging from a pair of cannons appearing out of your palms to the ability to control the way the wind blows. In this day, an age of quirks, nothing was impossible. All you had to do was reach it. And that's what they were doing. While other kids had things like schools and laws to stop them from growing stronger, they didn't. The laws couldn't stop them. School didn't drag them down. They were free to do whatever they wanted. And the best part to reaching their goal? All Might was getting weaker. Yes, All Might, the symbol of false peace, was getting weaker. While he had almost killed Sensei by destroying his face, Sensei had landed a critical injury on the legendary hero. Now all they had to do was manipulate that wound, make the injury worse. However, the main problem was getting to All Might, and of course their current strength. They still had plenty of room to get stronger. But getting All Might in certain locations was a bit more difficult. He was always on the move. They could create an ambush, but that would require getting the hero's attention. And even then, it could only bring other heroes, and depending on how the ambush would start, the hero would be on guard. They needed to catch him off guard, where he has his guard down the most. A hand swatted away a fist, as it repeated again, but with different hands. Engaged in hand-to-hand combat were Tomura and his younger brother Izuku. More Aizu, the teen commanded, as Izuku kept up the assault. Due to being augmented, he got a boost of increased strength and speed. Good. They kept going before they suddenly switched. Now Izuku was blocking and deflecting the attacks. You're doing well, Aizu, Tomura praised mid-spar. However, if it was meant to throw the green-haired child off, it didn't work. They kept trading off randomly of who was attacking and who was defending. Izuku sat on one of the bar stools in the bar with Kurogiri tending to his glasses again. Hey Kuro. Yes, Izuku? The bartender looked at the 10-year-old. Why do you keep cleaning the glass? Clean glasses are very important, as if they are dirty they can affect your health, the misty villain told the youngster. However, some people feel nervous when the bartender is doing nothing. Oh, Izuku looked at the shelf behind the bartender villain. Can I have a drink? Kurojiri looked at him like he said he was crazy. Not those drinks, he told the green-haired child. You're not old enough. But if you really need a drink, Kurojiri pulls out a drink suitable for minors. You can drink this. Thanks. It's nothing, Izuku. Izuku painted, as he lay on the cold wooden floor of the bar. He had just finished a day of training, as Kurojiri warped him back to the bar with his quirk. You worked pretty hard today, the older villain noted. But remember, a smart villain is a strong villain, Izuku finished. I know. Killing All Might meant that he was a villain. Sure, the hero was still alive, but he had intentions to murder the hero, thus he was a villain. He could just picture the day All Might's head was severed, and mounted on Sensei's wall. Any news? He asked the shadowy man who shook his head. None, at least nothing for us, he answered. What was it? Just some news about villains is all, he replied. Just a slow news day. Izuku returned his attention to the roof. What about Tomura? He is practicing his quirk right now. The villain glanced over at him. What about you? Are you keeping up with your quirks? I am, he defended himself. I think I'm doing pretty well. You were just practicing your newfound physical strength. Keep it a secret? No. Hey, Tomura and I, the green-haired 10-year-old walked over. Yes, Izuku? The teen asked, stopping his disintegration practice. I want you to use your quirk on me. Tomura gave him a long look of disbelief. What? I didn't mean it like that. Just on my chest. Trust me. Tomura still didn't do it until a bit more coaxing, and when he did, he disintegrated a part of Izuku's skin. That's when he regenerated. You regenerated? Yep, Sensei gave me the quirk super regeneration, Izuku said. I want to help you kill All Might, but in order to do that, I need to be on All Might's level. All Might's level. I know I'm nowhere near his level now, but he's also getting weaker, right? So that means in a few years I might be able to be close. Okay. I said okay, Tomura said. Then we'll become the anti-symbol of peace. Also, keep an eye and ear out for anything related to All Might so we can get a drop on him. What about the other heroes? Tomura stopped. He didn't think about the other heroes. Can you acquire information about them? Yeah, sure, there's a lot, but I can acquire information and get stronger. I can feel the day where we avenge Sensei coming ever so closer. I see they're getting closer. Sensei mused at his desk, as a monitor sat in the bar. Yes, well, when the person you might see as a father or savior is almost killed, it tends to bring them closer, not only to the person almost killed, but also with others who care about that same person. Kurojiri cleaned the bar, as he talked. True, the voice of Sensei came through the monitor. I hear Izuku has gained 3 quirks now. That he has. Super regeneration is useless to me now, Sensei said. It's better in the hands of someone that will need it more. So Izuku then asked the Shadow Man. Precisely. He has the goal along with Tomura to kill All Might. Also he is practically a Noumu, a sentient one at that. He can hold many quirks without becoming a mindless doll like the others. Do you think they'll be able to do it? I believe that I carry the potential to do so. Once we get more information, as the years go by, then they would be able to. He carries my brother's quirk, a quirk that passed on to the 8th torch-bearer. Kurojiri could hear the odd tones Sensei's voice took on. I plan to snuff that flame out for good. And if it's passed on? The bartender asked, curious for the man's answer. Even better, he said. That way, One for All will gradually lose power that he can use. Kind of like a water gun, you fire when you have water, but once it runs out, that's it. But this one you can't refill. Then you'll go straight for the successor? Yes. The quirk has gotten more powerful over the years. I would also like to take it back, but it's something I'm willing to let go of if needed to. Kurojiri turned to the monitor and asked, how come? It's quite a simple quirk. I just need the stockpiling strength aspect of it, not the ability to be passed on. I see. Kurojiri looked away for a second, and back to the monitor. Are you planning on giving Izuku more quirks? I am. Kurojiri didn't need to say another thing, as the man behind the screen spoke. As many as he needs to kill All Might, he said. He is a sentient Noumu after all, and I don't plan on letting this go to waste. Kurojiri turned around to face the bar, as he scouted the contents of the bar. A 12-year-old Izuku walked around the city in the dead of night, ready to either test his quirks, or just do whatever really. He had just stopped by his grave, as a dry chuckle found its way up his throat. One he didn't bother stopping, as he looked at his name. Funny when you're dead how people start listening. He thought, as he continued his walk. If he had one thing to describe the people walking about their days, he would call it disgusting. They were quite competent to live out their lives until theirs was under danger. He could remember a few times, no, a lot of times when there were people in danger, and they just stood around and watched. It made him sick. But that was also a thing that heroes did. Force people to watch, as they saved the lives of others. Honestly, the heroes were truly disgusting. Pain, something that Izuku would have to get used to thanks to his super regeneration. The first time his skin disintegrated from Tomura's quirk hurt a lot. He still got Tomura to apply his quirk to the mutant-type quirk he had. He was slowly building up some tolerance to it. Ever since he first got the regeneration quirk, he had been getting Tomura to build up his pain tolerance. For 2 years too, the disintegration felt like a small sting now. However, he felt that Tomura had been taking it a bit softly against him when it came to his quirk. Regardless, he increased his tolerance nonetheless. The 12-year-old glanced to the side, out an open window from one of the rooms above. He returned to a book filled with his own handwriting. He had been collecting information on heroes, a great variety of them too. Heroes like Endeavor, Best Jeanist, Eraserhead, and many others. However, despite his efforts, All Might was pretty classified. How was he supposed to get the drop on the symbol of peace if he couldn't get any information on the hero? Guess he'll have to just take the fact he was getting weaker, and had a weak spot, and get his guard down. Closing the book, he stood up from the bed he called his own, and headed out. He grabbed what seemed to be a hooded coat. He had info gathering to do. With the hood pulled over his head, he took notes of what he saw. If All Might had allies or other heroes with him when they attacked, they needed to know how to deal with them. The notes also shared another purpose. He would give them to Sensei. There were plenty of quirks out there, both heroes and the everyday common folk. Just one glance at the civilians, and just one of them could have had a quirk that they could have used to be either a hero or a villain. Ah well, more for Sensei. Seems there's a bank robbery, he mused, as the villain who just robbed the bank ran. The robber got nowhere fast, as he was instantly caught. Who was the hero that caught the crook? It was the firefighter hero Backdraft, and using his hydrokinesis he made it slippery for the man to run. The villain made no attempt to use his quirk, as he was arrested then after. That was pretty lackluster. The soon-to-be teen shifted his focus elsewhere. What about day-to-day citizens? Surely they might have some impressive quirks. He stood up, as he pocketed the book away for later. He was going to walk away, and head back after a day of scouting, but he stopped, as he heard murmurs. Did you hear? Hear what? They said that there have been unsolved murders. No. Yes, and the victims have all been. Izuku tuned them out, as he thought about the murders. Oh, he knew they were happening. It's just a matter of when it comes to light. And it seems the murders have finally come clean, or so it would have been. It was just a rumor. It had to be that way for all these civilians to sleep soundly. After all, who could sleep when there's a hero killer walking around? Answer Izuku. Other accepted answers, Kurojiri, Tomura, and Sensei. Thanks for playing. However, the rumors were definitely true if the corpse of a hero could say anything about it. It was time to return before one of those nosy heroes decided to give him an escort home. But if ended with a new quirk. No thinking about it now. Izuku headed back to the bar through a more roundabout way. Unknown to him, his encounter with All Might would be growing ever so closer. If you were to ask how confident Izuku was, he would say more than confident. Why? Because they were planning their attack on the beloved hero called All Might. Yes, that's right. They have learned something very important, something the press would claw at for a chance to cover, or rather pinpoint the person they want to have an exclusive interview with. They pinned down All Might's plans for the future, or rather near future. All Might was going to teach at UA in a few years. No, not even a few. 1 year. 1 year from now, All Might would be teaching the next generation of heroes, and what Sensei said early, it was more likely to scout for a successor. Wouldn't it be hilarious if Izuku somehow managed to trick the hero into becoming his successor? Yeah, quite hilarious. He kind of wanted to do that now, simply for the sole reason of watching the hero's betrayed face freeze, as his own quirk being used against him to take away his life. One could only dream. And that's why they were here now, discussing at the bar about the method of approach. Gathered at the bar was the 14-year-old Izuku, the 17-year-old Tomura, the Shadow Warper Kurojiri, and the voice through the monitor Sensei. So All Might is teaching at Udade? Izuku asked, specifically the first year? Indeed, he seems to have gotten desperate. Sensei's deep voice was heard on the other end of the device. This is our chance. Tomura disintegrated the glass which got a glare from Kurojiri. And how do you plan on that? Well, take advantage of the fact we have hostages of the class he's teaching. They're not like us. You do realize you need to have All Might's curriculum, right? Asked Kurojiri with slight annoyance, as he cleaned the broken glass fragments. You need to know what classes he has when, and not to mention we are severely outnumbered. I know that. Tomura spat back. How do we get All Might's time frame? The green-haired teen asked. The green in his hair now somewhat darker, and seemed to be more green than black, as also longer, as if he started growing it out. We can't just waltz in and get the times when he's teaching, so we need a spy, Izuku mumbled. But that was a problem. Sensei definitely could go for obvious reasons. Kurojiri was their warper, and Tomura planned to be there when they killed All Might. Izuku wanted to go too. As we all know, we are all unable to go. You know my reasons, Sensei said. I'll go. Izuku muttered under his breath. You will? You and Tomura are going to be the frontlines to kill All Might with Kurogiri assisting with his warp gate. And not to mention if you do infiltrate, your cover will be only used once when we attack, Sensei said. That's if they don't connect two dots together, seeing as you are officially dead. There has to be someone we can trust, the teen said. Maybe a fake person. It was like a light went off in Izuku's head. Just because I can't enter doesn't mean that someone else can. False identity. The Shadow Man nodded at the idea. But that would restrain you from helping us. And it would be especially fishy if you disappear if you enter All Might's class or one of the hero ones. No. I can make this work, Sensei said from the other end of the monitor. Izuku Shigaraki cannot attend Udata High, but Izuru Yamakumo can attend. Izuru Yamakumo. Izuku tested the fake name. Now all he needed now was a fake appearance. Izuru Yamakumo, first year of Udata in the Department of Support, Sensei concluded, as he made Izuku's new identity. Tomura glanced towards his younger brother. Are you sure you want to do this? He asked with a concern only an older sibling would have. This could go south quickly. If it's to kill the symbol of peace, then I'll do it. I forgot to mention something about the health of Izuru Yamakumo. And what's that, Sensei? Tomura asked, as the multi-quirk user began. Izuru has waning health, you see, he said. This causes Izuru to randomly spit out blood. Would the teachers ignore an applicant like that? Kurogiri was the one who asked. And if he does get in, isn't the hero recovery girl also there? That is true. However, Izuru has an official recommendation backing up his skills, Sensei added. He also has a doctor's note explaining his problem, and reasons why he won't turn up on certain days. Then Izuku could tell that Sensei was speaking specifically to him. However, that also means that Izuru would need to attend Udata for random days, and act as a normal student in the support department. The Department of Support is about building gadgets, and other inventions to help heroes. Sure, we could use them for ourselves, but Izuku's eyes glanced away from the monitor. I don't know how to build any of those gadgets. That's why after getting your fake appearance down, we are going to sit you through till the day of the support class exams, and teach you. Oh wait, what? You heard me, Izuku, Sensei said with a slight chuckle. Don't worry, machinery is easy. Easy for you maybe. For me though? No. Well, Izuru Yamakumo, let's get you ready. Why did I have to open my mouth? Izuku looked into the mirror, as he waited for Kurogiri, who was not only a bartender, but also a barber. What a guy. Kurogiri had offered him the chance to choose what his general appearance would look like. However, nothing was coming to his mind. So he looked around, or rather looked at the only other guy in the room, Kurogiri himself. And that's what Izuku decided. I've decided, he said, as Kurogiri turned his head and walked over. And what have you decided? Like you? Like me? Well, yeah. While your mist is black, it has some hints of dark purple in there, he said. So change the green in my hair to dark purple. Leave it to me. Tomura was listening to Sensei, who was talking about the support department, as Kurogiri warped in with Izuku. Good evening, brother. Tomura turned his head, as he saw someone who wasn't his brother standing there. This person was the same height, same fit muscles, under the shirt, and same voice, albeit with a more classy sound to it. This person had black hair with dark purple highlights that took up most of the hair, which was straight and smooth rather than curly, and it could have covered his right eye if he wanted to. Any lower than it would though. He had the same colored purple eyes, and his clothing reminded him of Kurogiri of all people. He wore a long-sleeved white buttoned-up dress shirt with the exception of the top two buttons with the collar being popped. He wore a black vest over the shirt with black suit pants and black dress shoes. Izuku? He had to ask even if he knew. The one and only. The teen dressed up, as Izuru said, as he smoothed his hair which now covered his right eye. I might change it from hiding and showing my eye anyways. This is my Izuru Yamakumo disguise. I see you've also taken to Kurogiri's style of fashion. Maybe a bit of myself too, the voice of Sensei said. All you are lacking is the tie, but I doubt you'll put that on. You look respectable, the older brother said. I do? It's like you're another man. Izuku looked at his reflection. Kurogiri definitely did a good job with the disguise. It was kind of weird to wear this almost suit that lacked the jacket and tie, but it also felt like him. Usually he just wore dark green or black clothing, but he could dig this. This could be his iconic style. Well, without the hair color, style or eyes, as those were not green. Now we have to begin with your backstory, Sensei said, as Izuku nodded and sat at a bar stool. Name? Asked Sensei. Izuru Yamakumo. Age? The voice asked again. 14. What is your occupation? I'm a first-year student of Udata in the Department of Support, Izuku said. I have an official recommendation of my skills if you are unsure. Why are you taking the exam then? I don't believe that recommendation should get me there, but rather my own skill. So why? From Izuku's move, he spat out blood similar to a certain hero's true form. Sorry, Izuku apologized. My health isn't the best. Are you sure you can come to our establishment? Yes, I'm healthy for most days, and if not, I have a doctor's note. Well done, you memorized it fairly well. Thank you, Izuku said. So how do I go about the whole inventing thing? Don't worry, I'll be guiding you, Sensei told him. First we'll do some repairs of old televisions and computers before building up to using parts to make gadgets. What about quirks? He asked nervously. Well, you have plenty. It was true, since he gained super regeneration. Sensei had been providing Izuku with quirks. The more the merrier, he said. Even though All Might was considerably weaker now, he would probably need more strength to fight the hero. I believe there is a populated beach on the other side of the city, Sensei mentioned. Perhaps you could start there? The beach was a mess. It was littered in all sorts of trash. There was an old television, half of an old truck, a fridge, tires, and a lot more trash. So he started to salvage. He got dressed into different clothes to save his villain clothes from getting dirty, and a potential fear from Kurogiri. He got all the salvageable junk like the TVs, fridges, and even the old truck into one pile. The trash that was just burnt. Now with a pile of salvageable junk to work with, repair, and turn into gadgets, he started to get to work. He turned on the earpiece that rested in his right ear, and then, after a stable connection, and when it was truly safe to talk with Sensei, he did. Sensei talked him through it before he was starting to get the hang of it. He was a smart kid. However, as the day progressed, Izuku turned his head to see another man walking onto the beach. He was an overly skinny man with angular features, really angular features, long limbs, and neck. He had spiky, disheveled hair with two bangs framing the sides of his face, and seemed to have no eyebrows. From what he could tell, his clothing was baggy, and his face kind of seemed naturally sour. However, he was quite surprised to see him there. Act naturally, Izuru, Sensei's voice lulled. Izuku still had his Izuru eyes and hair, so he decided to talk with his Izuru persona. Hell, he was still going anyway. Maybe it was just Sensei worrying. Good afternoon, SI. Before Izuru could finish, he spouted blood. Are you okay, my Bio? The man also didn't finish, as he too spouted blood. I'm fine, are you fine? Yes, perfectly fine, my boy. The man's eyes glanced around the beach. You cleaned this place up pretty good. Thanks, the teen smiled. I just threw the trash out. Wait, are you a hoarder? I'm sorry. I'm not a hoarder, the man comically reacted. No, my boy. I was just going to clean the beach. But it seems you have me beat. Hee, sorry. No, you did a fine job. It was then he noticed the tools in his hand. What are you doing? Well, many of the trash could be easily fixed, and they have useful parts, so I decided to take the good junk with me. Planning on repairing them? Yes. Also might make something new out of them. Ho, so you're an inventor? He asked the youth, who shrugged. Don't know yet about inventors, more like aspiring inventors. How old are you? Like 14. I'm planning on entering the U.A when the exams roll around, Izuku answered. Hero? The man asked, as he heard the teen release a groan. No, he grumbled. Why does everyone think that? He stopped what he was doing, and turned his sights to the skeleton man. No, I'm aiming for the Department of Support. The man's eyes widened before they calmed down. Most kids your age would rather go for the hero path. Then they're fools, no offense if you're into the hero side of things. There are plenty of unspoken heroes in this world. Doctors, police officers, firefighters before water quirk users came around, and even people at the support department. He started to trail off, as the man eagerly listened. I don't want to be one of those heroes who only do it for fame and glory. The real heroes go around without praise, fame, and glory like the support department. Not only do the gadgets help heroes, but they can also help people. That's quite noble of you, my boy. I highly doubt you're my father. No, I call everyone younger than me my boy. Even the girls? I don't even know. Izuku talked to the strange blood-spouting man, as he occasionally spouts blood back. Oh, I'm sorry, my boy, the man said. It seems my talking has taken up your time to get to work on your repairs. Nah, it's fine, the teen replied. I can always come back. Well, sorry for eating up your time. Oh, I hope you get into the support section of U.A, my boy. Thank you, sir, he called out, as the man waved, as he left. Who was that? He asked himself. He felt. Never mind that, Sensei said in his ear. I'll tell you later. Oh, what about my quirk on my student application form? He whispered into the earpiece. That's for you to choose. I see. And you need to choose a quirk that you won't use outside of the Izuru persona. It wouldn't be good if he used the quirk he used for undercover when he joined in attacking to kill the #1 hero. Don't worry about the stuff here. But come back here every day, you just might build some trust with that man. Why would I need to build trust with him? He asked. I'll explain later. The stuff will be warped back here when you arrive, Sensei said, as the junk did vanish leaving a clean beach. Shall I warp you back? Nah, I'm fine. I can walk. He walked back to the bar, as he wondered what Sensei was talking about. His mind went to his new study session of creating and developing gadgets to get into the Department of Support. Izuku, or rather Izuru, had been practicing quite a bit at the beach. After successfully repairing a television, fridge, and some other indoor appliances, Kurogiri had gladly taken them into his bar. Then there was that mystery man Sensei told him not only to be wary, but also build trust with. Therefore he had to keep up the Izuru persona. Why? Because that man was important, Sensei said so. That man is on the teaching roster of U.A. Izuku. Sensei's voice returned from his memory. It is best to build his trust. It will help avoid any suspicion in the future. The blonde man was a teacher? Huh. Thankfully when Sensei called him Izuru, he acted as the persona, voice, and all. So if Izuku and Izuru either meet the same guy, he wouldn't know. But there was the way he said my boy very familiar. However, it was hit or miss at the beach though. While he didn't go to the beach on his more sick days, he did go and talk to the teacher whenever he was there. The pile of reparable junk got smaller as Sensei's lesson drilled into his head. As he fixed things like the fridges and the television that stayed back at the bar, he started to get creative. Adding stuff together, being inventive. Each gadget has a purpose, and all you need to do is build it for that purpose. It was odd talking to the skeleton. There was a sense of hate deep down in his heart for the dying sour skeleton. He wondered if Sensei knew who this man was. And this is where he was now, on the clean beach making his invention. Sensei was a really good teacher. So what are you repairing today? The skeleton man he learned was named Toshinori Yagi. Not repairing. The persona of Izuru told the teacher. I'm using the parts to make something new. The man gave a smile which was immediately ruined by the spout of blood he shot out. I see the Department of Support's exams are coming closer, he brought up after wiping his move. They are? Man, time flies. It does. The man looked at the clean beach. How long had it been since he saw this beach this clean? He couldn't exactly remember. You did a good job, even if it was just for your practice. How so? He asked the blonde man who pulled out a newspaper article. I only took this page if you were going to be here, he said, as Izuru took the page from the man. Local unnamed anonymous youth cleans the Goba Municipal Beach Park, he read. A youth who went by unknown, and wanted to remain unnamed, had cleaned up the trash-filled beach, turning the once trash-covered beach into a popular dating spot. He handed the paper back to the man, as he muttered, well, that explains the couples. My boy, you've done a wonderful job. He smiled. Who knows, maybe you'll turn into a legend of the beach. A legend? For cleaning up trash? He asked, looking at the teacher, as if he were ludicrous. Well, it's not uncommon for youths in love to turn one thing into another, the man explained. Who knows, this act which created this new popular dating site might have just added you to one of those dating rumors and myths. I'd rather not be associated with picking up trash. No, nothing trash related. The man waved his hand quickly. It could be like the 1,000 paper cranes one. 1,000 pieces of trash. Yagi sighed, as his head slumped in defeat. No, he groaned softly. It's going to be hard for me to come up with an example without you turning it to trash. What I'm trying to say to my boy is that you'll become a dating myth one way or the other. Hell, you're probably one right now. He pointed his hand to the dock where a couple was, the selfless healer of the beach. The tale of a youth that took it upon himself to clean the beach when no one else did, which gained the attraction of one of the goddesses, and rewarded him for his selfless act. He heard clapping, as he turned back around to Izuru. That was beautiful. He then spat out blood. I suppose it was, Yagi said. Anyway, are you going to turn that into trash? Don't need to, as it was still picking up trash, he said, but before the older man could continue. But selfless acts of kindness would be rewarded in the future, the moral of that story you just made up. That's right. But a goddess, huh? The persona let out a low whistle. You gonna spread that one? I just might. The man chuckled before he started chuckling blood. Izuku kept working on the invention before another conversation started. Are you worried about the exams? Toshinori asked. Not worried, nervous. That's natural. Reckon you'll do well in the exams? Depends what it involves. Can't be harder than the hero course. He said the U.A's hero course was kind of well known. In my opinion, I think the support course is probably the second hardest, he said. You know how the courses are split into general education, management, support, and finally hero, right? I do. Well, general education is the largest course there, and quite easy to get into, followed by the management course, which is also easy to get into, but still difficult due to it being management, the teacher started. Then there's the support course. The support class has lower numbers than both management and general education, but that's because of their curriculum. Finally, there are the hero courses that only a small few get into due to the exams. So support is the second hardest? Yes, in terms of students. Huh. That got some reaction. But yes, the support course is only second in terms of lowest students. It's just that they have more room to work with their inventions. Toshinori grinned. But between you and me, I personally find the support course harder for students. Is it because it has an invention in it? Well, yes, the man nodded. The support course is about creating gadgets to support people, and in the hero course you only have to fight and rescue. He pointed at Izuku's work in progress. That machine right there is a good example. Not many people would choose the support course. It's either a hero or nothing, he said. Also, the exams for the courses take place at different times. In the support course you have to create gadgets. So a written test, an invention showcase? Not exactly. There is a written test, as well, and a practical test too. However, the practical test is to showcase how wide your creativity is. Why are you telling me this? Izuru asked, as the teacher had shifty eyes looking left and right like he had a huge secret to tell. He leant in a bit, and whispered, "My boy, I'm telling you this, as an unofficial reward for cleaning this beach." Izuku could also tell he wasn't telling him everything too. "Please don't whisper my boy in my ear again." The man spouted blood at that. "But thank you," he said. "However, I don't telling me about the support course is a good reward for just simply cleaning the beach. My boy, it wasn't just you cleaning the beach, it was your determination too." The man stood tall. "You believe that the real heroes are the ones that are unseen like the support course and the police force, not heroes we see every day. If I had to say anything, I would say that you my boy have a hero's will. Also in the paper when you went unnamed for the same reason, selfless healer of the beach, Izuru Yamakumo, you would have made a wonderful hero." "Thanks," he mumbled. "So does that mean that I'm gonna bag a goddess?" Toshinori lost his blood to the sand below. After wiping his chin he looked at the team. "It depends on who you might see as a goddess," he mumbled back, as he saw the time. "Do you want some lunch? I am hungry. I think I saw a stand back there. I'll go get something." Izuku watched, as the teacher of Udata left. What a strange man. Izuku spouted out blood before turning back to his work, as he took the information in about the support course. Well, he knew what to expect now. Kind of. A written exam, and a practical exam, and each course took the exams at different times, with the support course being the toughest of all courses to get into, and usually the course with the least students. Well, there was the advantage of having more room because of it. He could only imagine how clustered the workshops could become. Then there was his quirk. The quirk that Izuru Yamakumo would have to go by during his time in Udata, and the quirk he couldn't use, as Izuku. There were plenty to choose from, but they needed to have a use in the support class. And then there was the sports festival. A quirk used in support class to help with the invention of gadgets, and a quirk that can be used for combat. The attraction of small objects quirk was helpful, but not in combat unless there were weapons about. It was also a quirk he wanted to use too thanks to its sneak attacks, and would be useful to have when fighting All Might. He didn't really need the combat advantage, as he was fine with his strength, but he also wanted to beat down the future heroes too. Imagine them losing to someone not even aiming to be a hero. But he had the quirk already chosen. It could help when in the support course, and proven to be combat reliable when the sports festival rolls around. Yes, he had just the quirk. Sure, he couldn't use it again outside of Izuru, unless he was confident not to get caught, but he had already decided. "I'm back," Toshinori said, as he walked back onto the beach, and handed Izuku the food. "I see some progress. Sorry for the wait. It was further away than I thought." "It's fine, Jiagi-san." Izuku started to eat with the man in silence. The man released a please sign. "I swear they make it tastier by the day. Any reason to get you to go back to them, and buy their stuff then from someone else?" the teen said, getting a nod and chuckle of agreement from the older blonde. "It was nice talking to you, my boy." "Likewise, Yogi Bear," Izuku said, as he ate. "Yogi Bear?" The man looked at him oddly. "If I ever see you with a picnic basket I will call you that. I didn't know you watched that overseas show." "I see you do," Izuru said with a sly smile. The man spouted blood luckily away from his food. He was going to say something about it before seeing the smirk smile on Yamakumo's face, so he decided to drop it. From his spot he looked out to the waves softly crashing against the beach. Soon, he wouldn't be seeing Izuru Yamakumo as much as before, but that didn't mean he could still enjoy his company. Maybe he could schedule a spot in the support course, or maybe schedule a visit on the unseen heroes who would help modify the students in the hero course's costumes. After the day was over, Izuku brought his invention with him. Udata would definitely have much more advanced technology for him to work with. After dropping the invention off, and changing from Izuru back to Izuku, he headed back out into the city. He had a job to do. Walking to a tunnel with a sewer hole, he looked around the area before opening the manhole, and jumped into the sewer. With a thud he held a large plastic bottle with a lid. "Where are you?" He placed the bottle to the side, as he walked forward. Two eyes in the darkness opened, as it saw the green-haired youth walk in the sewers. "Fool," it thought, as it slowly crept up behind him. "Just by looking I can tell that aside from his somewhat plain appearance, he has a strong quirk, and a fit body to go with it." The thing made of sludge rose, and threw itself at the teen that had stopped walking. "Sorry kid, but your body's mine." "Is that all you got?" He heard the teen before he jumped off the kid after feeling something. Once the sludge villain jumped back, he saw the kid surrounded by a dark blue transparent shield, no barrier surrounding his body, in a dome with light blue hexagon patterns on the barrier. A barrier quirk? The villain muttered before sending arm of sludge after another at the barrier. Your barrier has to have a limit. Izuku watched the sludge villain attack before the villain saw his eyes. They were half lidded with boredom. Don't underestimate me, you shitty brat, he shouted, as the teen dropped the barrier and jumped back. It was then he realized a stream of fire from his mouth towards the villain. A fire quirk too, the villain shouted, as he ducked under the stream of fire. Once his eyes went back to Izuku, the teen was already close to the sludge villain. Too bloody close. Izuku had his right arm cocked back, as visible white spiraled around his arm. It took on the form of being light blue due to the concentration of wind. The sludge villain had no time to react, as the arm hit him, and was blown back. Fuck you, brat, the villain cursed before one of his eyes blew back, and saw a large open lid bottle going straight for him. He felt his body shoved into the large empty plastic bottle before a lid slammed down on the bottle. He was trapped in the bottle. Izuku listened, as the sludge villain was hiding from the villain's curse at him. Shut it, he told the villain. I had enough when just trying to find you. The two eyes blinked, as Izuku jumped out of the sewers and started walking back. His bottle victim made unintelligible noises while he was walking into more dangerous places. The sludge man had to admit the kid was skilled when he easily disposed of two wannabe criminals like himself, but he wondered why the kid was looking for him specifically. Then he saw the large tubes filled with indescribable horrors, countless bodies in green liquid-filled tubes, as they underwent changing, morphing, transforming, losing their humanity. He knew what was happening now. They were going to experiment on him. Izuku, you brought him? The scar-faced man asked, as Izuku gave the man the bottle. The sludge villain could only feel fear. He didn't want to become like the bodies within the tubes, despite his current form, of course. Sludge form, the man said. Wait, that was his quirk, wasn't it? Amorphous, mud-like body, immunity to most physical attacks, and claims to take control over a person's body after a few seconds. If the sludge man could gulp within the bottle, it went unheard, as the man held his hand out to the bottle. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, the man said. Was he going to be free? He'd hoped so. He wanted to kill that little fuck. Why was that brat smirking at him? But I need your quirk. What? His quirk? That meant, I'll be taking it now. The man couldn't even scream. As soon as the lid was removed, he was met with the old man's hand, and the world went black. It had been a long time since Izuku had felt nervous. Maybe it was because of the security measures at the gates. His nervousness mainly stemmed due to the fact that if he failed, no spy that, and getting caught. He was confident he wouldn't get caught just failing. It felt like time had passed at all. Time really did fly. But he was prepared. He was ready. A whole year, almost, was spent training him for this sort of thing. School. Well, technically inventing gadgets. Izuku, or rather Zuru, walked into the U.A, and the support department candidates, well, there was barely any. The room they used was a lot smaller than what they would have used, which was understandable. Everyone wanted to be a hero. Go big or go home. Everybody, a voice shouted in the small room, causing many to cover their ears. The bastard who used his quirk in the small room was a tall man with long, spiky hair that reminded Izuku of a cockatiel. He had a small mustache, wore a pair of headphones with the word Hage on the headband, and a pair of dark-tinted sunglasses. The loud man wore a black jacket with an upturned, studded collar, and studded shoulders, black pants with a studded belt, black boots, and black, fingerless gloves. Around his neck looked like an old stereo player, complete with speakers, play buttons, and a cassette tape. This was the hero present, Mike. Sorry, everyone. He apologized to the possible students of U.A High. Maybe he shouldn't have used his quirk. But are you ready? This time, no quirk was used, but it was still unnaturally loud. Is this a test of endurance? Was the current thoughts of one Izuru Yamikomo. He would be surprised if it was one. All of you are here for the support course exams. Can I hear ya? The hero was met with silence. Ouch. I understand how nervous you all are. But have no fear. Why? It's because I'm here to break it down for you. And he continued on, as if he was used to this treatment. This wonderful exam was created to test your inventor types. So if you came for the hero course, get out. That exam is later. Well, yeah, the hero course exams are sometime after the support course exams for some reason, Izuku thought. The exams went to support, heroes, education, and management. He didn't know why support was first or management was last, but he did know one thing. The general education course was placed after the hero course for the sole reason of those who failed to get into the hero course. First is the written exam, President Mike shouted. So listen up, listeners, cause you got one shot. Please turn it down a notch, everyone thought. The written exam is the least of your worries though. Don't say things like that. You all have 1.5 hours to complete the written exam, listeners. President Mike threw his hands up. However, you might be wondering why the written exam only takes up just a measly hour and a half. That's for you to discover after the test. It was then that stapled papers were being handed around the room. I'll begin once everyone has gotten their papers, so raise them hands, baby. Everyone who got a paper put their hand up to signal they got one. Is he crying? Izuku blinked, as the hero wiped the area under his glasses. This might have been the first time someone actually did something listener-related. Okay. Yep, this was the first. You all got your papers. Time starts now. And with that, everyone starts writing. Remember, no cheating. Each applicant went on with the exam, using the time to the fullest. Izuku noted that the questions involved the support course's trade. For example, a flying hero has a quirk that allows him to glide long distances. However, any more weight would cause his quirk to be useless, especially since he is a hero that works with mountains and heights. How would you solve this? Those sorts of questions coupled with questions that involved malfunctioning technology and repairs. Izuku continued the test, confidently writing down the answers. And time, President Mike shouted, as the written test came to a close. We will now be collecting your papers once you leave to your practical exam. Reminder, buy soundproof headphones. Now all you listeners may be wondering what the practical exam is. Well, first, we have to move to the practical exam room, he shouted. Follow me, listeners. The others will collect your papers and begin marking. The wannabe support students followed the loud hero, as Izuku wondered what the practical exam would consist of. He would assume it would be creating something. Wonder what we have to make, he muttered under his breath. I don't know what the practical will be, but I hope it allows me to go crazy with ideas, the voice next to him said. Turning, he saw who it was. It was a girl with a quite fit physique and a very round chest. She was around his height and had somewhat messy and curvy pink shoulder-length hair that resembled dreadlocks or even bananas, along with having yellow eyes with a crosshair-like design on them. She even had some goggles on her head and some fingerless gloves. I can't wait to introduce my babies to the world. Izuku blinked. He blinked again. Sorry? What she just said didn't register with the spy, and he had to ask. Oh, my babies, she beamed. They're my creations. Oh, like what we came here to do? Yep, she nodded, as they continued down. Meihatsum. Izuru Yamakumo. Well, Yami, best of luck to ya. He didn't need to wonder why she said that, as they all came to a stop. Yo, President Mike shouted. Everybody, we are finally here at your exam rooms. They were standing in a hallway. As you can see in this hallway, there are multiple rooms where you will be taking your practical exam, so you'll all get a room to work. President Mike then pointed everyone to their assigned rooms. Now if you all are so kind as to take a look inside your assigned rooms, listeners. Izuku opened the room he was assigned to, and what he saw shocked him. Piles and piles of robotic parts used for the hero course entrance exam. Yes, my listeners, President Mike shouted. Your practical exam is putting together our illustrious exam robots. As you can tell, these robots have 3 different points. A 1-point robot, a 2-point robot, and a 3-point robot, the hero said. However, this is where your test comes in. Each robot you successfully build goes to your score. A point for the certain robots you make. Build a 2-point robot, and you'll score 2 points. That also goes for the other 2, as well. The points marked on the robots are how many points you'll score. But here's the catch, baby. You are allowed to use your quirk in order to help construct the robots, and like the written exam, there is a time limit of drum roll 4 hours, he shouted. All of you here are skilled soon-to-be inventors, so you shouldn't have much trouble here. Build as many robots as you can, and make sure they are in working condition. That's another part of this test. Even if you build it correctly, they need to work correctly too. So if you build a 3-point robot, and it doesn't work, you will not be getting those points. So the robots used in the hero's entrance exam, we're building those, Izuku thought, as President Mike brought the microphone closer. Your time starts now, listeners. With that, everyone went into their assigned rooms, and closed the doors behind them, got to work. There was no rush, unlike the hero exam. The hero exam had a set amount of robots, and too many applicants, therefore the time limit was shorter. Not enough robots to go around. Izuku looked around the room. The room held tools, not like he needed them, but he wondered where the cameras were. Weren't they supposed to be watching their progress? Either way, Izuku started to take off his shirt, and revealed the muscles he had hidden away. They were quite impressive. If his mother was still alive, she would probably call them something along the lines of lady killers. Shaking his head from the thoughts, he got to work on the robots. From his back, he grew limbs with ingrown tools, retractable arms with a tool for the job. Hammers, screwdrivers, welders, blowtorches, you name it. He did, however, grab one of the welding masks just in case, as he went to work on the robots. Each of his arms was working on a different part of the robots in his assigned room. He might have had an advantage due to extra limbs with tools, but he didn't know the other participants' quirks, so he worked for 4 hours straight, building the 1, 2, and 3-point robots, and giving them a brief test run after the creation of each robot. He was building up quite a number, as the commands were to activate and make a line at the end of the room, and deactivate, making it easier to get the parts that weren't used while knowing which ones you fixed too. However, he wouldn't lie, and said he wasn't tempted with using his other quirks. Well, the few quirks he could use here, that is. He could definitely see why the support course would be classified as harder than the hero course. Breaking things was way easier than building them. It then brought up the point of the robots themselves. What was going to happen to them when they finished this exam? Are they going to be used for the hero course exam? He didn't know. As long as it got him into the support course, he didn't care what they decided to do with these machines. He continued to steadily build the robots at his current pace. Each arm helped speed up the process immensely because of it. He picked up a part before he glared at it, so they added non-working and broken parts on purpose. Clever U.A, very clever. By adding in fake parts like that, it also screwed with other things down the line like the robots. It was a good thing he was taking note of the parts, otherwise he could have had a mishap. Izuku continued to build the robots, with being extra observant of the parts now. There was no clock in the room, which was a bummer. He continued with the 1-point robots, 2-point robots, and the 3-point robots. The exams only end when the loud man shrieks or screeches. Either one really when it's that guy on the mic. The main point is that your ears bleed is when it's over. And that's time. Present Mike shouted from the intercoms, but he did know they could hear him without it, right? Please come on back out, listeners, he called, as Izuku picked up his shirt, put it back on, and left the room. I hope you all did well, cause that's it. End of the practical exam. We will be going into your rooms, and tallying up your total robots, and their point worth. The hero then held the mic out to them. Did you all have a great time? He was met by silence again. It wasn't that bad actually, Izuku had to admit. A written test, and a practical test by putting robots together in working order, and making sure they worked, as well as identifying which parts were the planted ones from U.A to screw with the exam takers. Very crafty school despite it having a walking stereo that's volume was always on high, and a walking skeleton that occasionally spat out blood like miniature waterfall. From what he could tell from the staff, they were just as quirky as their quirks themselves. Those 4 hours felt like nothing, he said, as the pink-haired girl he had met earlier agreed. Now listeners, we will be sending your written and practical exams back to you sometime next week, maybe even before then, the hero said with a smile. Everyone thought that was it before the hero spoke again to stop them from going. Don't tune away, listeners, he said, as he motioned them to follow him. There's one last thing, and don't worry, it isn't part of the tests. They all followed the hero to another room. Now, out of all the exams, the support course exam is the longest with 5.5 hours. The hero course actually being the shortest due to the short-lived practical. Present Mike explained. However, all 3 other course exams are way shorter than this course's exam. So today, Present Mike then opened the door to reveal a whole lot of food. We are treating you to the meal you missed due to the exam. He then waved his hand into the dinner area. Feel free to dig in, listeners. Don't be shy. Everyone entered with Present Mike's constant guidance, and soon everyone got a table and food. Now one last thing, Present Mike said. Heroes are important, but you are equally important. Without you, we heroes will be nothing. So take pride. You are all heroes to us. A hero's hero. He finished off getting an applause which was tearing the man up. And now, the support course takers were eating the meal they missed. At Izuku's table on the other side, was Mei. Hey there, Yami, she said as she sat down. Handsome-san, he nodded. Hope you don't mind if I just butt in. Nah, it's fine. He waved it off. Cool. Hey, did you overhear us examinees? She asked, as he had to shake his head signaling he did not. Apparently this year is one of the lowest in terms of numbers, but they said that there should be enough to still have our 3 classes outnumber the hero course maybe. Izuku ate in silence, as Hatsum changed the topic of conversation yet again. I hope they'll let us create our own babies. That's going to be taken out of context, he thought. Let's just focus on getting into the course first, alright? It's no big deal. She waved her hand. If we fail, it's just a learning experience for us. That's true, he said, returning his attention to his food. It sure was nice to give us a free meal. Yep, because our course is the longest, the other 3 don't get this sort of treatment. I guess we should take this as thanks for your hard work then? That's what I'm going to take it as. Izuku continued to eat with the pink-haired girl on the opposite side of his table. So this was what it would be like to eat at the school. Well, if he got in, and she got in too, he wouldn't mind doing this. He needed to fit in to fulfill his role as a spy. I wonder if we're going to be in the same class if we pass, he wondered loudly. Only one way to find out, she grinned. He only nodded, as he ate the rest of his meal before he and the others left the premises of a high school grounds. After the support course students left, the teachers came in to mark their work. The person who just walked into the room was that of a mouse with the face of a bear with a large scar going across his right eye, the nose and tail of a mouse despite his bear-like head, and dog paws for hands. He wore an elegant suit with large shoes that didn't seem to match the suit he wore. In his paws was that of a clipboard with the applicant's name and 3 different columns for the robots. He checked every robot in the room, and was quite impressed with the amount he saw. Looking down marked down the robots the applicant was able to make during the 4-hour test. From the corner of his eye, he saw a pile of broken, fake, and bugged parts. Turning his attention to the robots, the mouse smiled. He gave the points the applicant earned fairly. He wasn't the principal for nothing. So this is the kid you met, All Might, the mouse said. He's pretty good. His quirk also helped him in the construction of each robot. His control, and the ability to multitask in the midst of construction were outstanding. I could only imagine what would happen if he decided to become a hero. The principal finished the total points Izuru had earned. Just because All Might liked the kid didn't mean he would be given special treatment. He got the same treatment as everyone else. It's a good thing I look over the support course thanks to my quirk, the mouse said. It seems we will have a few interesting support course takers though small. The principal left the room and headed back to the others. He had 3 courses to look over in the next few days, and he was quite excited to see all the students who managed to get into his academy. He was a very happy mouse. Izuku waited for the results to return after the exam. However, he had to wait at a new location. In order for them not to find Sensei or their hideout at the bar, Izuku had to wait at a temporary fixed address until he got his results back. As soon as he got the results back, he would leave immediately. "Excuse me, are you Izuru Yamakumo?" asked the man, as Izuku looked up in his Izuru disguise. "Here's a letter for you." "Thank you, sir," he politely said, as he took the envelope from the man's hands. He looked down and saw it had U.A's symbol on it. This was the letter. Izuku walked back into the house he was temporarily staying in, as the occupants of the house were conveniently away on holiday. However, he stated that he was moving homes in a few weeks. Thankfully, U.A bought it. He opened the fridge and helped himself, and what they knew didn't hurt them. Afterwards, he left the house having moved, and without leaving evidence of him being there. He came back to the bar and opened the letter, which dropped some sort of disc which then played a recorded video of his results. What did he do? He got in. He was accepted. Perfect. He had successfully infiltrated the U.A, but now he had to go to school. His head slammed onto the desk, as he was back in his original appearance. He released a groan into the wood that did nothing to stop him before he moved his head enough to the side. Plus side? He got to kill All Might much easier now. However, there was still the fact he had to go there for some time. But he could definitely bring back useful gadgets, and possibly make a profit. One thing he heard when listening to Hatsum was the fact that companies would express interest in their invention, so that was another plus. Another one was the fact that there were many quirks too. Sure, he couldn't really get away with abduction when a nice quirk popped up, but it was good to note. Izuku stood up from his desk, as he went to tell the good news to the others. "Guess what?" he said, as he entered the bar. Kurojairi and Tomura both looked at him. "What?" they asked. "I got accepted into the UA. Congratulations, Izuku." Kurojairi congratulated the team. "So now we have our spy." Tomura smiled. "But still, for you to go to school surrounded by the enemy in their territory, can't say I'm not worried. I'll be fine. As long as I keep up the persona of Izuru, I'll be fine. But to think, All Might would be teaching there. You got to be careful, Izu." "I will, Tomura, and I will." Tomura let out a small sigh of relief. "So you managed to get into the support course," the voice of Sensei said through the monitor. "I suppose congratulations are in order." "No, it's fine, Sensei." "Nonsense. You are undertaking a major assignment, a dangerous one too," Sensei said. "Besides, I'll know you won't let us down." "Thank you, Sensei." The youth bowed his head to the monitor. "Stop around later, Izuku. I got something to give you." "I will, Sensei. But first, Kurojairi." Sensei called out to the shadow man. "Yes, sir?" "Bring out the favorites." Kurojairi nodded, as he went and brought out their favorite foods. Toshinori Yagi sat at a desk at U.A, as he went through his future notes. He will be teaching soon. He needed all the practice he needed, or else he would be using crib sheets and palm cards. Just then the door opened to reveal the principal. "Yes, it's me," he said, "the lovable principal and mascot of U.A. You don't know if I'm a mouse, bear or dog." Principal Nedzi Yagi didn't finish, as he spouted blood, as the principal arrived. "What was this? A sitcom or something? Are you okay?" the mouse named Nedza asked. "I'm a fine principal," the blonde confirmed. "What brings you here, principal?" "Just here to say that the support course examinees have gotten their results." "And how's it looking?" "Well, this year we might have a smaller year. All 3 classes usually outnumber the hero course, but this year it seems we have a smaller group." "Around the same size of the hero course? Even smaller than that?" the blonde asked the mouse. Yes, indeed." The mouse lifted himself onto the chair next to the teacher. "It also depends on how many hero students get into U.A too, especially if those students end up having Aizawa-san as their teacher." "Oh yes, I just looked at Aizawa's teaching record," Toshinori said. "Over 150 expulsions. It would be a miracle if the hero course can get more heroes." "Aizawa does make it hard, doesn't he?" Nedza asked. "But you understand his intentions, do you not?" "I do," the skeleton said. He expels those who don't have the qualifications of being a hero. I understand some slip through the cracks and pass the exams, but do not have heroic qualifications. But it seems we have an interesting bunch of students though, Nedza said. The support course students that passed were very interesting. Yagi looked at the principal with wide eyes. What makes you say that? I see the student you were interested in, was all Nedza said, seeing, as Toshi did a spit take with his blood. He spits out blood the same way, as you said. However, he seemed to hold it in for a good amount of time, only spitting it out when we weren't looking. I swear seeing both him and you spit, I wouldn't be surprised if you two were related or something. Just from the way we spout out blood? Yep, the mouse nodded innocently. So did he pass? Izuru Yamakumo? He passed. Got his envelope recently too. Toshinori released a sigh of relief he didn't know he held. I see. It seems like he's already getting along with future support classmates already. Oh, you mean at the support course free meal? Yep, you did sound worried about him making friends here, especially with his health condition. Yeah, the man nodded. With a health condition like that at a young age it would be very hard to make friends. Well, it seems young Yamakumo and young Hatsum have gotten off to a good start. Oh, that reminds me of principal, the teacher said, as the mouse started pouring some tea. You're also overlooking the support course, right? That's right, the mouse smiled, as he handed him a cup. Here you go. Oh, why thank you. Even though heroes are important, a person like me prefers the support course, he admitted, thanks to my wonderful quirk. Yes, high spec, a quirk that granted the principal intelligence surpassing that of humans. He was also an extremely rare case of an animal that manifested a quirk. The mouse nodded, as he sipped his tea. Very interesting, he said in between sips. Probably quirkier than the future hero course kids. He laughed, slipping a little bit of tea. Oops. Don't worry, sir, I'll clean it later, Toshinori said. But I do have to wonder who their homeroom teacher is. Why don't you have a look? Is it a power loader? He is taking over the other course's development classes. Well, Aizawa is taking the hero course class along with Ken taking the other if there's another class, the man said. F, G, and H. I would have assumed that power loader would take one of the homeroom positions along with the development classes. While the hero course had classes focused on heroics, the support course had classes focused on well-developing gadget. Power loader focused on work in the development studio, and so did the students of the support course. So he's rotating between the three classes' development time? He asked the mouse. Yes, the support students also have a free inventing period too. But Power Loader wanted to be safe, and would rotate between the three classes when their development periods came up. I'm guessing that Yamada would be doing English lessons, and Ishiyama would be doing modern literature? Correct. Toshinori picked up the class lesson periods of the support classes. Homeroom, English, modern literature, development classes that have been extended. I got to say it works. More time to develop gadgets is important. It's why they are in the development of support in the first place. I wonder who the homeroom is. He stopped, as he looked at the person, and went back to Nedzu. Really? Is there a problem? Well, for freshmen, this is a drastic change for them. It'll be fine. Besides, it's only the homeroom. Toshinori looked at the mouse, and sighed. He could only hope it would be alright. Izuku was wearing his villain outfit, the one that gave him a classy look. He fixed the black vest over the pop-collar white button-up long-sleeved shirt, and placed his black dress shoes on. He walked out of the bar with his hands in his black suit pants pockets, as he roamed the city at night. This is definitely my style, he thought, as he entered a building covered with neon lights. He could already hear the music growing louder and louder. It was almost deafening. At least the music was good though. The room was dark with the only lights being on the dance floor. The squares on the dance floor changed color quite frequently, as the music was being blared. It wasn't just any songs, but rather music without any vocals aside from the few noises in the songs. This was the nightclub known as DS1, also known by its more common name Death Star. It honestly looked like a space station on the inside. Plus there were some talks of DS2, as well being built on the other side of the city. Izuku made his way through the club, and sat on a very comfortable seat that curved around a table. These places were good for various reasons, like wasting your time away either by yourself or with friends, meeting new people, mainly that of the opposite sex, dealing in shady business with other villains. Wait, what? Yes, Izuku was here for a sole reason, and it wasn't to meet girls. On the similar seat behind him a man sat down. He had gray hair with side bangs, a tiny mustache, and a tiny goatee, and a gap between his front teeth. He wore gray, round glasses, and his eyebrows were always drawn up in the middle, and seemed to be squinting. He wore a purple blazer with a white button-up shirt, and a fluffy scarf that resembled intestines in shape and color. He had a lit cigarette in his mouth before he blew smoke out. Evening, Izuku, the man said without looking at the green-haired teen. Evening, Jiren. Jiren let out a low whistle. When I heard Kurojiri said you got a new style, I wasn't expecting that. Izuku smirked. I reckon it suits me honestly. So what's your poison today? He asked. Izuku knew the true meaning of the words though. We need some easy disposables. I can manage to gather something up. Anything specific? Here, he handed Jiren a small note. That list has the specifics we need. However, we need some disposable items along with them. Got it, he said as he stood. How much? He then felt something touch his hand. It was rolled up bills, and a lot of rolled up bills. That's only to start, as the rest is after you get them, Izuku said. And remember, the money is only enough for disposables with the few exceptions of those on the list. Understood, the man said, as he counted his money. Pleasure doing business with you. I'll arrive at the bar later. Izuku watched as Jiren left, as he remained at his seat. Let Jiren leave first before he moves. The music changed, as he ordered a drink. As he listened to the music, and remained in the darker parts of the club, he decided to do some scouting. Potential allies, and enemies alike could be here. Right now, he was like a villain. However, someone did catch his eye. She seemed to be around his age, and the most eye-catching part about her was her appearance. She had pink skin, unruly, short pink hair with yellow horns protruding from her head. However, he couldn't help but look at her eyes. She had black sclera with yellow irises. She was currently on the dance floor dancing away wearing black clothing with some gold lines which only matched her skin. The way she danced on the floor was hypnotic. The way she moved her hips, swung her arms. She owned the dance floor, and no one could compete with her moves. Their eyes briefly locked, as he didn't break eye contact with her, as he sipped from his beverage. She winked at him before going back to the dancing, as he pulled out his phone. Hello? Yes, I just talked to Jiren. He waited for whoever was on the other side to stop. Yeah, I'm on my way back. Just did a little sightseeing. He stood, as he made his way out of the club. He looked back at the nightclub that was now behind him. He just might have to come back. He just found someone interesting. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.